Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. So we start with some bad news for The Mandalorian Season 4. The man behind the mask, Brendan Wayne, the embodiment of Djarin while Pedro Pascal does the voice, has opened up about the confusion fans have had as to the situation concerning the Disney Plus show. With Jon Favreau's Mandalorian and Grogu movie in the works, what's going to happen to the series? Are they going to make a Season 4? Or is that going to be adapted and absorbed for the big screen? The latter seems to be very likely, and this could be very bad news, because while I think it's great that Mando is making that transition, The Mandalorian has been Lucasfilm's flagship series on Disney Plus, and even though there are going to be cinematic pursuits in this era by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, that's not a reason to abandon the roots of what made the characters of Grogu and Djarin so popular in the first place. Let's dive into the full story. Brendan Wayne was interviewed by The Tatooine Show, a good friend of the channel, and they were the ones a while back who had the rumour that Season 3 of The Mandalorian was going to be the last. They may not have realised how correct they may have been. Here's what Brendan Wayne said. Casting doubt on another season, he says no, I know that we're doing a movie for sure. That's all I know. Brendan goes on to confirm rumours surrounding the upcoming film's production, stating, quote, what I keep hearing everywhere is that it's filming in June. I think Jon Favreau said June. And then he goes on to tease he knows the entire story of the film, noting, quote, they couldn't have greenlit something without a script. And this has led him to assume that Season 4's script is being turned into The Mandalorian and Grogu, replacing what was supposed to be another season on Disney Plus. So those are the comments in question, and I'm a bit conflicted and confused. Even before they announced The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, there was a very conclusive feeling to the third season in terms of restoring Mandalore and finishing Bo-Katan's arc, but they simultaneously set up Din Djarin's next chapter, the next phase of his life, working for the New Republic, and the assumption was that The Mandalorian was going back to the original formula of the first two seasons, Mando, not necessarily on his own because he's got Grogu, but doing more of the gritty lone bounty hunter stuff. So in a way, the movie is going to be a more transformative period for that story to take place. It's going to take a new shape altogether. I don't think it's going to feel like a TV show. And to a degree, that is very exciting. And if I'm being hopeful and optimistic, after The Mandalorian and Grogu, the show will return to Disney Plus and begin a fresh new phase. So maybe it just makes sense for them to do this on the big screen for the next chapter and then return. We still have Skeleton Crew to look forward to, Ahsoka Season 2, in the New Republic era, but for the time being no more Mandalorian seasons on Disney Plus. All I can say is, I hope the movie is good, and kind of redeems the weaker aspects of the writing of the third season. I've heard this argument that after the Book of Boba Fett and Season 3, there was certainly a structural decline, but Mando and Grogu have certainly left their imprint on pop culture, but we don't have any metrics to suggest whether or not a movie like this is going to be a success, the transition from the small screen to the big screen. And considering the big screen releases are also going to accumulate parts of Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, Book of Boba Fett, that might be an even bigger risk. Much of the audience might be confused. I don't mean to be negative, but I just don't consider this a win. I just wish we had official word from Lucasfilm, is Season 4 happening? Well, my dear friends, it doesn't look like it. In other live action news, Skeleton Crew, a series which doesn't have any buzz. There's no trailer, made public. Every time it's mentioned, there are those who haven't heard about it, or just completely forgot it existed. Well, now we have a release update from one of the actors. So this comes from thedirect.com. When will Star Wars Skeleton Crew release on Disney Plus? Exclusive. Except of course, this is corroborating stuff we've heard from various outlets sometime in the fall of this year. Here's what they said. A cast member of Lucasfilm's upcoming Star Wars Disney Plus show Skeleton Crew offered their prediction about when the show might finally air. And this series has been wrapped and ready to go for a very long time. The project, starring Jude Law, was initially expected to release sometime in 2023, but last October an official copyright filing revealed the show had been pushed, and this was confirmed by Disney. Since then, there has been no official word, radio silence, nothing on when it's going to debut. So when is it going to release? Well, while speaking to the Direct's Russ Milheim on the red carpet premiere of the film Imaginary, Dane DeLiegro gave a hopeful update on when he thinks one of his next projects, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, is going to debut, saying this, I'm hoping by the fall. If I were to guess, that's completely surmising. He says there is no information behind that. I know that Lucasfilm likes to release things around November-ish, so I'm hoping by then. I've been meaning to reach out to our director David Lowery. He's a friend of mine, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe November. I know that Lucasfilm is due for something pretty awesome, and I think Skeleton Crew might be that thing. Making Star Wars said Halloween 2024 or sometime thereafter, but the fall 2024 is a good guess. Even the actors don't know. It's something Lucasfilm's been sitting on for a very, very long time. Despite the budget being enormous, production was an absolute nightmare, a catastrophe, and by the sounds of things, it may not be this idyllic series fans think it's going to be. Time will tell. We've had no trailer for it, only the stuff from Star Wars Celebration, which was nearly already a year ago, can you believe it? And then the actor teases what his role is in the upcoming show, and he says this: "It's not anything long or substantial, but it's a really cool sequence." He said, "It's a fun thing." The directs say at the time of writing, it looks like Skeleton Crew's not going to be the next live-action show. That is going to be The Acolyte arriving on June 5th. We're still many months away from the release of Skeleton Crew. There have been whispers that it may even be pushed to 2025, airing in the same year as Andor Season 2. So those are the live-action updates. In other Star Wars news, although this doesn't relate to any of the upcoming projects or anything going on right now, Christopher Walken, who was fantastic in Dune 2, originally auditioned for Han Solo in A New Hope. You just can't imagine it. I think Harrison Ford is so interconnected with Lucasfilm, being part of Indiana Jones but also Han Solo in Star Wars, that you can't separate him from the character of Han. You can't imagine someone else filling those shoes. I mean, aside from Alden Ehrenreich, but that was as a younger Han Solo. But in the context of the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, it's Harrison. But similar to the way that Jodie Foster recently came out and said she auditioned for Princess Leia, Christopher Walken admits he was almost part of the Star Wars legacy. He said this: "I think it was for Han Solo. Yes, I auditioned for George. And if I'm not mistaken, my partner in the audition was, I think this is true, Jodie Foster. I think we did a screen test. I'm not sure we did an actual scene. Maybe we just sat in front of, in those days, those old videotape cameras. I did audition for Star Wars, but so did about 500 other actors. It was lots of people doing that. The roles eventually went to Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford. And Walken admitted this was for the best. He's kind of happy he didn't get the Star Wars role. He's had a very full career nonetheless. And I recently saw Dune Part 2 and he's absolutely fantastic in the Denis Villeneuve film. I highly recommend it. You can see how much of Star Wars was inspired by Dune. From the hero's journey to the characters and the themes, the prophecies, very cool stuff indeed. And finally, my dear friends, have you seen this? There is a hidden face in the battle over Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith, and fans have been going wild over it on Star Wars social media. It's very similar to the Jeans Guy incident in Mando Season 2. There is the face of a crew worker behind Anakin in one frame, and the person who appears in this shot actually responded and confirmed this was a mistake, but something that fans took years to realise. It's very funny when this stuff happens, and they left it in. But all that said, my dear friends, share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.